Hi guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Alex from Alex Art Dreams, and if you're new to my channel, I like to create content around painting, illustrating, bullet journaling, and all that sort of creative stuff. So if you're truly into it, join me on my creative journey and hit the subscribe button. Now that we have that out of the way, I wanted to tell you something very interesting that I heard recently, and it was a YouTube video by a very awesome artist by the name of Audra Auclair. She's a huge art YouTuber and she's only just recently made a comeback, and I have only just recently discovered her. I don't know where I've been under a rock all these years, but I'm just glad I found her, and I wanted to discuss her latest video. Her latest video revolved around being an artist and the time that she was ripped off. And what I found particularly interesting about these stories were not all of them were entirely monetary. So there were the usual, she got ripped off because someone didn't pay her, yes, but also there were just other forms of being ripped off. And I couldn't help but notice that as I listened to her stories, it evoked all of my own personal experiences of being ripped off as an artist. And I wanted to just take today's video and basically follow suit from Audra Auclair, because I think it is a very important topic to discuss. We, as creatives, we generally like to just show you the lovely-dovey, fantastic side of being a creator, and we generally don't really like to share with you the unfortunate events, but unfortunately that is a part of our world and our creative careers. So I think that if we take the time to discuss these matters a little bit more, then in turn, hopefully, it could potentially help others who are just starting out on their journeys, who maybe just don't know any better themselves, or people that are just a little bit naive like the way I was once. If you can, or if anyone can learn from my past errors, then I feel like that's a win. So I want to take today's video and start off by telling you about my very first time. And some of you may argue that it probably wasn't a complete rip-off and maybe I'm just overly suspicious. However, in my defense, I truly believe that your gut instinct and a lot of involuntary cues are usually telling you or pointing you in the right direction. And so I'm going to stick to my guns and say that when I was in high school, I basically had to produce a fake itinerary as a tourist in a country abroad. And my chosen country was Thailand, and I went all out and created boarding passes and receipts. And the highlight of my presentation was revolved around elephant riding in Thailand. And I created this beautiful illustration poster advertisement, and that was my showstopper. The whole class loved it, that everyone congratulated me on a wonderful artwork, and to me at the time that was the most important thing. I didn't really care about my geography assignment. It was more so, do you like what I drew? And I was super thrilled because my teacher kept singing my praises. What a great elephant you drew. It's fantastic. And she wasn't even my art teacher. She was my geography teacher. So pat on the back, I aced my project. Anyway, a few weeks later, teacher had to take all that material home with her at market and then return it back to us. And I had everything returned back to me minus the elephant poster. I was devastated, it wasn't there. I kind of knew that it was gone at that period in time, but I had hope and I kept asking my teacher for it, and she kept telling me, oh look, I'm so sorry, I've misplaced it, I'll find it for you, or I left it on my desk, or it's at home, and the excuses started getting really thin and superficial, and in the end I just gave up asking for it. And I truly believe to this day that my teacher swiped my work and she just didn't want to give it back to me. But, I could be wrong. Anyway, let's go on to the second one. The second one was an interesting one. It was about 5 years ago, and I had no idea about any digital artwork. I was a complete novice at it, and I predominantly just did visual art, and that was it. So when I was approached by a friend of a friend to create a business logo, I felt like I was a little bit out of my depths, but I took it on because I do like a challenge. I ended up getting the help of my husband, who is a computer whiz. You give him any computer and he can do anything with it. And with my talent of drawing and his know-how around computers and certain programs, we managed to create a beautiful logo together. And at the time, I was keeping my friend's friend up to date along the whole way, from sketches to, the final. And this was without any payment up front, which was my biggest mistake. And after showing the final without any watermarking on it and sending it to him, he basically messaged me the next day saying, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry. I'm going to go with my girlfriend's friend who does logo design. Thanks anyway." And that was it. And I thought it was a bit strange how it played out, but I thought, oh, well, you win some, you lose some, and I just moved on with it. And then a month later, I happened to be driving past the business that he required the logo for, and plastered on a huge 5x5 meter sign was my logo, which had been changed here and there, just slightly enough to say it wasn't mine, but it was clearly mine and my husband's logo. So, word of warning there, always get a deposit, if not payment up front, and never, ever, ever, ever send the final without any waterproofing or without any payment. That was a big lesson to learn there. Which leads me to my next story. So my next story is not exactly a monetary situation, but it definitely felt like a ripped off artist situation. Let me explain. So it would have been a couple of years ago. I had just become a mum. I had a newborn, and I really, really, really wanted to get back into my art. I felt like I needed to kind of find myself again. Anyone that has become a mum can understand and relate to this, I'm sure. You kind of lose yourself a little bit, your identity. So I really wanted to touch base with my art again. And so I took on a personal project in embarking on a huge painting. I haven't done that kind of style of work in a long time. I generally just work out of sketchbooks because of my space situation. However, I completely use my cramped little studio space, which it took up every single inch, this canvas, and I was dead set on finishing my painting and entering it into a local council's art competition. And I finished it, I submitted it, and then I waited with bated breath. Is it happening? Am I part of the exhibition or not? And they were very slow to respond, because I remember I was just on the contacts behind, literally just on her, just about it, have you decided yet? Am I part of the exhibition? And then I finally got the email that said, yes, you're part of the exhibition. And to me, that was just a huge win, because for so long, and I'm sure there are a lot of creatives out there that can relate, I never considered myself an artist. Even just uttering the words out loud was just like, oh no, imposter, and then I would go through this terrible imposter syndrome, and I couldn't even declare it out loud because I felt like such a fraud, because I felt like if I'm not making money from it, then therefore I'm not an artist. Or if I haven't been exhibited my work hasn't been exhibited yet, therefore I'm not an artist. And so for me, just being able to say out loud, my artwork has entered a competition and it's being exhibited amongst 30 other people, and hundreds of entrants had put their works in and been knocked back, but mine made it, it was absolutely thrilling and exciting all in one. So I felt like I had, just in that moment, I had achieved everything I'd set myself out for. 1, find my identity again after becoming a mum. 2, do that by painting and doing art. 3, enter it into a competition. And 4, make it to the exhibition. So naturally, there was going to be this huge celebration party at the end of the art festival that my painting had made it into. And they were doing it at this really glitzy venue, and all of the local council were involved. All the applicants that made it to exhibition were invited. This is my understanding based on previous years, mind you. And I was told by the contact from the council that was that was the liaison between the exhibition and the artists that had their work there, that she would be in contact with us regarding the invitation to the party, basically to the awards night, to see, out of each segment, who basically won a prize. There were different prizes. There was the Young Artist of the Year prize, etc., etc. The date came around and I never received anything. I never received an email or anything. And I just remember waking up in the middle of that night, just knowing in the depths of my soul that I had just missed out on something massive. And I couldn't go back to sleep that night. And then the next day, my husband, being the biggest sweetheart he is, seeing how much pain I was in. I mean, he would have handled it differently. I'm the type of person that I generally don't like to bother people. So if I felt like I was being too pushy before, trying to find out whether I'd made it into an exhibition. So I didn't want to push this lady any further and hound her regarding the awards night and my invitation. So my husband, being the sweetheart he is, the next morning he saw how much pain I was in, and he basically put me out of my misery, and he followed up. He called about 5-6 different people in the council. He was passed along to this person, to that person, until finally he hunted someone down that knew, and they basically told him, what was your wife's name? Yes, your wife won an award. She won the People's Choice Award. So my painting was voted amongst the people that had attended the exhibition as the painting for the visual arts category, and I wasn't there to accept my prize. I wasn't there to shake the mayor's hand. I wasn't there to take my photo for the local paper. I wasn't there to try and sell my painting to anyone interested. I just was not there. And to this day, I felt like I was completely ripped off. I was very angry at myself for not being that pushy person, because a pushy person would have followed up prior to that date, made sure they knew what was going on with that invitation, made sure that they were attending it, and they would have made it. And they wouldn't be sitting here years later complaining about it to people like you. So that's that. And I think what makes things worse is I basically had everything mailed to me. I had my prize mailed to me, etc., etc. But I had to go pick up my painting from the exhibition. And that day that I went in, the lady that was my liaison, the one that should have handed me the email with my invitation to the award ceremony, was there. And she was just blasé about it. Like, no sweat off her back, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I entered your email address incorrectly. My bad. And that's how she was. And, it just really peeved me off. I had to act all professional because, trying to embark on a creative career here, don't want to burn any bridges, don't want to make any enemies, when really I just wanted to spit her in her face. And yeah, she was totally blunt. And she's like, oh, maybe next year, hun. Yeah, okay, maybe next year. Next year rolled around, guys, and they actually cut that category. They didn't have a visual arts category for the Bayside Art Festival in my area, and yeah, there was no next year. So there are my 3 stories involving how it feels like to be ripped off as an artist. And from what you can hear, it's not always a monetary thing. It can be dealing with, you know, just people that aren't very good at their job. It could be with people swiping your work and not returning it to you. Yeah. So I really hope you enjoyed listening to me rant. I kind of felt a fire in my belly, especially on the last story because it's the most recent one. And if any of my stories inspired anything in you or made you recall any of your own, or, you know, just let me know in the comments. I would really like to hear other people's experiences. Like I said earlier, I think the more we talk about these sorts of things, hopefully the more we can better prepare the next wave of creatives coming in. And if you enjoyed my little painting here and the process that I take when I do them, please give this video a thumbs up. And I just want to take this moment to say thank you so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate every single one of you being here with me. This whole YouTube journey is brand new to me, and I'm a complete novice, if you couldn't tell. And I'm just really thankful for each and every one of you that have come along and have made the effort to check out what I do. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and take care now. Bye.